aspirants, it's 2nd of December today, and I welcome you all on today's edition of What to Read in the Hindu newspaper. I'm 𝗗𝗶𝗹𝘆 𝗡𝗲𝗄, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance with regard to prelims and mains, but we'll also try and interlink it with other GS papers as well by aligning the peripheral core concepts for the same. So let's get started. The very first article that catches our attention in today's paper is about Supreme Court gives CBI free hand to stop digital arrest scams. Now, when we map this particular article in our syllabus, this will fall under GS Paper 2, Governance, Polity, Regulatory Bodies, and also very much relevant with regard to GS Paper 3, Cyber Security. The key theme that has been discussed over here is judicial intervention to tackle new age cyber frauds in the form of digital arrest and CBI's power with regard to state consent. For prelims perspective, we need to know about CBI's jurisdiction and state consent, cyber crime trends, IT Provision Act that deal with cyber crimes. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of Supreme Court's expanding role in cyber regulations, center-state relations, and the core concept with regard to federalism, cybercrime infrastructure gaps, and also the government challenges in digital era to tackle these crimes. This is how this particular article is to be holistically seen. The next important article, which is there in the paper and that catches our attention, is on editorials page, and that talks about India's recent GDP numbers. That talks about cautious optimism, India's challenges to maintain the growth momentum. Now, when we map this particular article, this will fall under GS Paper 3 of our syllabus under economy, wherein growth, development, and inflation as a concept can be understood. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article primarily talks about strong growth signals, but uneven sectoral performance, concerns over deflator, and consumption versus investment imbalance has been observed in recent figures. For prelims perspective, we need to know the difference between GDP and GVA, what is base effect, what is GDP deflators, index of industrial population production trends. For mains perspective, the same is to be seen through the lens of structural versus cyclical growth model, inflation and growth dynamics, policy implication for RBI and government, and export slowdown and global linkages. This is how this particular article is to be holistically read and revised with the help of certain basic core concepts. The next important article, which is there, talks about the new action plan on AMR, that is antimicrobial resistance, needs a shot. Now, when we map this particular article in our syllabus, this will fall under GS Paper 2 Health and Governance Scheme, and also GS Paper 3 Science and Tech, and in particular biotechnology could be the core areas wherein this particular article can be interlinked. The key theme that has been discussed over here talks about India's second AMR action plan, that is antimicrobial action plan, that highlights gap in state level capacity, One Health integration, and antibiotic misuse. For prelims perspective, we need to know what is antimicrobial basics AMR, what is the concept of One Health, what is National Action Plan on AMR Resistance 1 and the 2, which is being recently launched. What are the key differences between the same? What National Health Mission, knowing about that. For mains perspective, the same is to be seen with the help of health and governance gap, surveillance, regulation, and awareness challenges that the healthcare system is facing, role of innovation and diagnostics, and environmental pathway of AMR. This is how this particular article is to be seen. Also, we can supplement it with Niti Aayog's report and the deficit of doctor and nurses that we are seeing in urban and rural areas, the contrast that we are seeing, this can also be linked. So this is how this particular article is to be holistically seen. The next important article there in the paper, just below it, is the need for heart resilient urban planning. So this is relevant for GS paper 1, urbanization could be one of the theme. Also GS paper 2, health and urban local bodies. GS paper 3, environment and climate. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article is about cities must be redesigned to reduce cardiovascular diseases that rise through several factors such as pollution and lifestyle diseases that we are seeing, through the development of green spaces, mobility, and equitable planning. For prelims perspective, we need to know healthy city concept altogether that has been mentioned in this particular article and also could be linked for our essay and ethics paper, blue-green infrastructure, urban planning terminologies and associated areas, several schemes such as Smart City Mission, Amrut Mission, then National Urban Health Mission. These all are to be seen and what are the way forward for the same. From mains perspective, there could be a direct linkage with regard to health and urban designs, inequities with regard to pollution, mobility, and built environment, urban health gaps, and green gentrification could be one of the concepts that has been mentioned in this particular article, and you need to know by reading this holistically what it means. This is how this particular article is to be seen. The next important article that is there in the paper and which is very much relevant to read is about capturing urban dynamics in 2027 census. Relevant for GS paper 1, population and urbanization. Also relevant for GS paper 2, governance and data for policy making. Also GS paper 3, infrastructure and mapping. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about census 2027 must shift from binary rural-urban categories to spatial, grid-based, geocoded settlements and dynamic classification, which is need of the hour. Not only smart census is to be done, but classification and settlement-based dynamic definition shall also be included. For prelims perspective, we need to know about basics of census, geotagging, urban settlement definitions, UN's degree of urbanization. Now, this term has been used in this particular article. You have to read and understand what it means. From May's perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of data-led governance, urban sprawl, peri-urban challenges, why current definition of urban settlements or urbanization fails, policy implication for planning and funds. This is how this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. The next very important article for GS paper 3 environment is about why does India need bioremediation? Now, this is relevant for GS paper 3 environment and pollution control measures. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about using microorganism plants for cleaning waste, tackling landfill mountains, and treating polluted rivers and soils could be a way forward for tackling pollution and its problem. For prelims perspective, we need to know about what is bioremediation, what is phytoremediation, types of it, for example, in situ and ex situ, solid waste management. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of role in its Ganga rejuvenation, wetlands restoration, landfills site, circular economy, waste to value approaches, and limitations in scalability that we face when doing these smart measures in the form of bioremediation, phytoremediation, and other geoengineering processes to tackle pollutions. This is how this particular article is to be seen. The last important article for the day that is worth reading in today's paper is about Can India become self-reliant in REE production? That is rare earth element, relevant for GS Paper 3, Economy, Science and Tech, and Critical Mineral Industrial Policy, also relevant for GS Paper 1, Geography, under the theme Resources, World Resources, and also GS Paper 2, International Relations with regard to China and its dependence worldwide for REE. So this is the key theme that has been talked about in this particular article. Talks about India's push for REE value chain development for EVs, defense, chip making, and magnets amid China's dominance that we are seeing nowadays. For prelims perspective, we need to know the list of REE, key ores in the form of monazite, India's major deposits where RE mineral has been found, such as Odisha, Kerala, and Andhra. Then the agencies involved in it. For mains perspective, the same is to be seen through the lens of strategic autonomy in critical minerals, processes and refining capacity gap, balancing environment with mining expansions, global geopolitics of REE supply chains. So this is how this particular article is to be seen. This is all from my end for today's Hindu newspaper analysis. Till we meet for the next time, take care and goodbye. Keep learning, keep growing.